Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial on IT.tutorials. I am Josef Botnar. This tutorial has the goal to make a CRUD application. CRUD stands for Create, Read, Update, Delete Records from a Database. This application is done using Visual C Sharp and Microsoft SQL Server 2019. The level of the code used to make this application is between intermediate and advanced. So I'm going to use quite intermediate and advanced knowledge in the code which is behind this application. Is quite a lot code to do, so that means this tutorial will last about 1 hour. Who will have enough patience to go through this tutorial from the start to the end will be able to make CRUD database application using Visual C Sharp and Microsoft SQL Server just in an hour about. Yeah, so in my opinion you have to learn a lot from this tutorial in just 1 hour if you have the patience to follow me through this tutorial. So I'm going to make the application first. All what is regard to this application. I'm going to design the form. I'm going to make the code behind this application, and after I will be finished, I will give you all the explanations to understand the code and to understand how this application works. So let's start. As you have seen, the code works, at least for this button insert. So I finished this code. It might be a few problems somewhere. We are going to fix them as we go through this application, as we go through the code of this application. As you have seen, I insert already this data, these records, about 7 records using this button insert. So this code works properly, as you have seen, and we are able to bring all these records here in this text boxes just with one click. Even you can use the arrows to navigate, and when the cursor is above a record, that record will be taken over here in these text boxes, as you are seeing now on the screen. Okay, so let's test this button update. Let's see if the code behind this button update works properly. Let's update this record with this ID 7. All right, so let's change the first name from Carmen to Andrea. All right, click update. Here you go, it works. Yeah, as you can see here, the first name was changed from Carmen to Andrea. Let's go here in Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and let's execute this query. And as you can see here in the table, we have all those records what I have inserted a few minutes ago using Visual C#, using this application and this form. Yeah. All right. So it works. Let's do a different update. Let's update the last name. Let's write here, for example, Page. Update. Yeah. It worked. Yeah, the last name was changed from Botnar to Page, as you have seen. Let's change it again to Botnar. Update, and as here you go. As you can see, the last name was changed from Page to Botnar back. So this button and the code behind this button works properly without any problem. Let's remove some records using this button delete. Let's see if the code behind this button delete works properly. I selected this record with this ID 7. Yeah, delete. Yeah, here you go. It wasn't deleted. Let's see what is going on. Let's try again. Click on delete. No, the text boxes were cleared, but as you can see, the record with this ID 7 still here. It wasn't removed. So that means here we have some errors behind this button. Let's see what kind of errors we have there. But first let's check here this store procedure. Let's see if here everything is all right. Okay, let's go here and inside the code. Here is the problem. Here where is this constructor, because I haven't used any parameter. Actually, I should have used here the ID parameter, because the removing of the records from a database is done using this ID, using the ID actually. So that's why I'm going to use the ID property. Let's remove these parentheses first. Let's use the curly brackets. Alright, and here the ID property equal with this parameter ID, which is taken from here, because this method uses this parameter ID, which actually, when this method delete employee is called on this code line, actually will send this the value of this variable employee ID, which is this variable which was declared on this code line. It is a private static integer init variable, And actually here on this line, this variable will be assigned with a value of its ID from this data grid view. Yeah. And when this method will be called, the value of the ID will be sent to this method here, where the method is living inside this class CRUD data. Yeah. And using this store procedure, the employee with that ID will be removed from database. Yeah, let's see now if this application works properly. Let's release it again. So let's select this record, press delete. Here you go. Now it works properly. So the record, as you can see, was removed. Let's remove another record with this ID 6. Click on delete button. Here you go. The record was removed, as you have seen. Let's see here. Let's update this table in a SQL Server. Click on execute. Here you go. As you can see, those two records with the ID 6 and 7 was removed from this table, namely TBL employee table from a database. So this button delete and the code behind this button works properly too. As you have seen, this button reset works properly. Yeah, if I select a certain records and after I press this button reset, all these text boxes are cleared. All right, now let's see if this button search works properly. Click on it. This form will be released, and let's search the employees after last name. Let's type page search. Here you go. Yeah, it works properly. These two employees were listed in here in these list boxes, because we have two employees with this last name, as you can see here in data grid view with this last name page. Yeah, so let's type Yoder search. Here you go. We have two employees with this last name Yoder, as you can see here in this data grid view. All right, and let's type Horn. Click on search button. Here you go. We have one employee with this name Horn, and he was displayed here in this list box. So this form and this button and the code behind the button works properly. We can search the employees and display them in here in this box after the last name. So the code works properly. Let's insert another employee. So let's reset. Let's clear these text boxes. Click on reset. So let's write here Joseph Botnar. Click on insert button. Yeah, here you go. The record was added here to the end of this data grid view. Joseph Botnar, West Morsi, and so on. Let's update the table here in Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Click on execute. Here you go. Here is the record inserted last time. Yeah, so the code works properly. The code works properly without any problem. Let's click on this exit button and we quit from this application. What I have done here, first of all, as you have seen, I created this database employees and this table TBL employee, yeah, with these columns, yeah, and the ID is the primary key. And here I created this stored procedure for insert employee, delete employee, search employee after last name, and update employee. And here inside this Visual Studio, first of all, you have to bring Dapper from manage gadget. Yeah, just click on manage gadget and look for Dapper, and after install it in here in your application, because you need this Dapper to be able to make this application. Yeah, all right. And also it's very important to set to do the settings inside this file app.config. Yeah, here actually we have XML, as you can see. So I write these connection strings, and inside the connection strings actually I write the name of the connection, employee DB, the connection string. Actually the connection string you can take it from internet, from this website. Yeah, and I use this trusted connection, and we have this trusted connection equal with true. That means I use the Windows credentials, so I'm using the username and the password which I'm logging in Windows. If you want to create for a SQL Server a username and a password, you can use this standard security connection string. Yeah. So let me to show you what I have done. I typed here in Google Box this connection string SQL Server, and this link came up. You choose one of these. It depends which version of SQL Server you are using, and here choose this one, Microsoft SQL Client Data Provider for SQL Server. Yeah, and this one will take you here, and choose your version of SQL Server, and here either you are going to use a standard security or a trusted connection, up to you. As I told you, if you're going to use this trusted connection, actually you don't need to set an ID and a password for SQL management SQL Server, because the management SQL Server is going to use the Windows authentication. If I go here in management SQL Server and select connect, here you can see where is this authentication. I'm using this authentication, Windows authentication. So that's why I've got here where is this app.config file. I've got for connection string this, let's remove this from here. I've got this trusted connection with this value true. Yeah, and set the provider name, which is SQL client. Yeah, you have to write this string system.data.sql client. So this is very important. Yeah, this setting inside this app config. Just I noticed the Visual Studio add the same name and connection string at the provider name, because sometimes when you set here the data source for the data grid view, automatically Visual Studio will config, will do the settings inside this file app.config. Yeah? So I'm going to remove, because I don't need two of them. It's enough if I've got just one. So pay attention for this part here in this file app.config. So you have to write this configuration string, and after this to add the name, the connection string and the provider name. This name you are going to use it here. I declare this class connection. Yeah, so actually the name of the connection string will be taken over by this method using this string parameter name con. Yeah, and here the configuration will be returned by this method con string, which is part of this class connection. I designed this this form, employee data. Yeah, and I created this class which is the model using these properties. the name of these properties must match exactly the name of table columns. Yeah, as you can see, the names are matched. Yeah, if you don't respect this, if the names doesn't match, the application will not work properly. And also here I declare this property, which is used to display in this format the employee data. Actually, I'm going to use this inside this class here inside this method display employee data. Yeah, when the employee will be displayed in this list box. So here I'm using this display property, which is assigned to this control list display employee data, which will format the display of employees data in this form. Yeah. Okay, so here inside this file, which is related to this class CRUD data, I made this method insert employee, which will insert the employee in a database. These are the parameters used for this method. These parameters actually will take over the values from these text boxes. Yeah, here this method is called, and you can see the text boxes used to take over the values, and these are the arguments which will be sent to this method insert employee, and these parameters will take over the values from text boxes. Yeah, and after I'm using this using, which is either a keyword used here to import the namespace, or can be used as a statement, and we are able to use inside this using statement parts of code. We are able to create objects, to initiate classes. Also we can use a list, as you can see. Here I declared this list, which is a class. It's part of collections, and the type is employees. Actually this class employees. In this way that list will take over the values held by the properties, which is part of this class employees. Yeah, and after we using this object obj employee, using the add method to add the value of these parameters to the properties, and this code of line using this execute method we will add all the values entered by user in those text boxes in a database using this store procedure insert employee. This line of code will close the connection with database, and things are the same with another methods with update employee. Yeah, the difference consists in this parameter which is added here. This ID parameter, which the type is integer in it, which will take over the ID from the data grid view, and will be assigned here on this code of line to this ID property, and on this line actually this execute method will execute this SQL query, which and this update employee stored procedure, which will update in database the employee data. This method will delete the employee data using only this parameter ID, because the ID is unique, and that's why that's why I used the ID as a parameter of this method, because the ID is unique. Also, that's why I used here ID for updating the employee data, because the ID is unique. Yeah, this code will search the employee data after name. The type is list, and this list has the type employees, which is the class, this class, which has all these properties. Actually, in this way, the list get access to all the members of this class employees, because the type of this list is employees. The name of the method, and here this method has a string parameter last name, which will take over the name from when this method will be called on this code line. Actually, the value will be taken over from this text box, yeah, and when the search employee method is called, the value from that text box is taken over, and here actually using this query we'll execute the store procedure, which will look into database after a certain employee using the last name to look for the data of a certain employee. Yeah. All right. So regard to this form, let's go inside the code. So here I declare this method get employee data, which will search for employee data using the last name, as I told you. And actually behind this search button, if I give a double click on it, as you can see, we have these two methods, get employee data. So this it is about this method, which will get the employee data using the last name, and another method is display employee data, which contains these two code lines, which will get using this object the employee data from this class employees. Yeah, because here I declared this list, yeah, with this type employees, and the list will get the values from those properties which are member of this class employee. Yeah, and I declare this, I initiate this object here employee using this list, and here on this code of line that object obj employee will take over the last name, calling this method, and here the object which is holding the last name will be assigned to this list box control, and will be displayed using this property, which is part of this class. Yeah, so I use this property just to format the display in this form, in this way. Yeah, first name, last name, address, mobile, and email. Yeah. All right. So that's all regard to this application. Let's release again the application. As you have seen, the application works properly. We can update, we can insert, we can delete records, we can search for records using this form search data. I'm going to make a website. I have already bought the host, and I'm going to put all my projects, what I have done on my YouTube channel on that website. You will be able to download all the codes related to the projects what I have done on this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video tutorial. See you next time. Bye bye.